Hey, you guys, good morning. It is raining buckets over here. Hopefully, we'll have power throughout the stream. We're going to go ahead and get started on today's show. I was going to do Barron Trump today, but all this crazy stuff started popping off in the news. And so we're going to cover that today first, and then we will get into Barron Trump tomorrow. Now, what is going on that we had to change the lineup in terms of the show today? Well, one of you sent me an image of Donald Trump's, well, a knockoff version of Donald Trump's meme coin. And on it, you saw the number 666. And I couldn't believe my eyes. But we'll get into that today, as well as a common artifact that is found throughout the ancient world that nobody can seem to explain yet. We're going to give our take on that. A lot of people have already gone down this rabbit hole about this common artifact, but we are going to also break it down. We're also going to discuss a new technology disclosure that a lot of us knew might have already existed, but now they're literally disclosing it. And what is the technology? Jets that run on air. They literally run on nothing. We were just talking about this, weren't we? And now, all of a sudden, it's a thing. Now, I'll be curious to get people's opinion. I know some of you work in the aircraft industry, so you'll be able to give us your take on this. And I'm not saying for a matter of fact that I know this is the case, but there's a reason why they're coming out with this now. It's like the more people that kind of wake up to some of this stuff, the more that they have to disclose it, right? Let me do a quick sound check, and then we'll jump into this Trump 666 meme coin. How's the sound coming through, you guys? Now, you might hear a little, it is raining cats and dogs, but I did get a new microphone, and so I think it's able to better filter out kind of some of the background noise. So you might hear a little bit of static in the background, but the sound should be coming through loud and clear now compared to previous shows. Should be crystal clear. I worked on this mic for literally, 5 hours yesterday trying to get it perfected. Okay, everybody says good. Okay, let's get into this, you guys. This is crazy. Now, I want to be clear here. This image that you're seeing on your screen is not the official Trump meme coin image. In fact, there really is no official Trump coin image except for his fight image, which seems to be connected to this meme coin. Now, here is the official site. Let's pull this up here. And this is directly from the official site. Basically, Solana, I believe it's a crypto exchange. They're the ones mostly selling this coin or offering it. So Trump has contracted with Solana to handle this coin. And as you can see, he's got the fight on this site. So FFF, of course, we know is 666, but you can't just go off of that. You have to have additional information and proof. And so here is where things get creepy. We get this confirmation of the 666 in the official link to purchase the coin. Literally, there are 3 sixes, exactly 3 sixes in the link to purchase the coin. So that's 2 proofs. Now, is there a third? Yes, there is. Again, this is in the unofficial image of the coin right down here. 666 in the coin. Now, the rest of this coin also has a lot of clues in it about our future. But basically, what I just showed you were 3 proofs of the number 666 attached to Donald Trump in this meme coin. Okay. Now, why have they been talking about Trump and the meme coin right now? Well, Trump threw a dinner. He actually hosted a dinner to reward the top meme coin holders. And he's getting a lot of pushback from, about this because they're saying, you can't do this. You're a president. It's completely inappropriate to do this. Well, he did it. And so this is why they've been circulating this particular image of this particular meme coin. I don't know where they got this image. I don't know if it's made up. But here's the thing. Trump is very protective of his image. There's no way that he would let them use this image unless they had some kind of permission, right? Now, if we hear later that he's going to sue them for his image on this coin, then you can take one of these proofs away that I just presented to you. But we've got two other proofs that kind of prove it, don't we? Now, here's what's weird about this. You see on here, it says digital, decentralized, peer-to-peer. Okay, and it's got all this circuitry, Bitcoin. Let's break this down a little bit. Gold-plated MJB, monetary metals, I guess. Let's see here. And what is up with this 666? I don't even know what this is. Itrophos or something. That doesn't even make any sense. So, what is this about? Well, what I believe eventually will happen is the money system will be linked into the mark. And many people believe this. It's not just me who believe this, but money buying and selling will be linked into the mark. And so now we have these bizarre precursors to this, don't we? Now, all of us remember the Smurfs decode that we did, and it sounded so silly, right? But what you don't realize is the Smurfs used to be called, the original name for the Smurfs was called the Strumps. Here it is right here, Les Strumps. And this seems to match up with the very name of Trump's meme coin, which is called S Trump. It's a dollar sign, actually. Let me see if I can get an image of this. It's actually a dollar sign and Trump's name. Here it is. So essentially, the Smurfs are the blue bloods, aren't they? And we already know Donald Trump Jr. calls his children Smurfs, and there are so many other confirmations that we decoded in many of the Smurf movies. One of them, they actually came through the portal, and in the background was Trump Tower, right there in the skyline, as they're coming through the fountain in the portal. That was some of the most damaging evidence that we saw, but there was so much more. And here we are. We are living in literally the Last of Us scenario, where now they're talking about fungus taking over the world. Of course, the Smurf universe was all about the mushrooms and the fungus, right? They had magical powers. And now they're saying because of global warming, fungus will arise and will basically take out humanity and alter us in some way. This is what they've been telling us, you guys. We've seen it in the news. There's no making it up. Well, check this out. Let's keep going with this Smurfs theme, right? Because you have Trump, Smurfs. You got basically Smurfs in Trump's name almost backwards. M-U-R, Smurf, Murphy. And that brings me to something really bizarre that I didn't anticipate finding a connection in. I was watching the movie Interstellar yesterday. Now, I've seen that movie about 5 times, but I feel like I keep missing something when I watch the movie. And sure enough, Interstellar was the movie with Matthew McConaughey, and he travels into a black hole to save humanity. And the path to his destiny originated from his own daughter, whose name was Murphy. And Murphy saw the beginning from the end. The whole film centers around his daughter, Murphy. What does he call her in the movie? What does Matthew McConaughey call his daughter in the film Interstellar? Let's go back into the chat. You always have to spell things backwards to get the true meaning with these occultists. What does he call his daughter in the movie Interstellar? Remember, Murphy saw the beginning from the end. Now, I know this sounds silly, but follow the thought here, because this is insane, you guys. This is insane. The levels that these people go to. Yes, Jamie got it. And it's crazy. Jamie, your last name rhymes with Nolan, who made the film. He calls her Murph. So we have now a possible reason why Trump calls, or why Trump's son calls his children Smurfs, because their very name is Murph backwards, or Mur. Now, I hadn't noticed this until now. Murph for short. Murph is a Smurf, the Blue Bloods. And when Murph grows up, she's played by Jessica Chastain. Murphy is short for Mephisto, Mephistopheles. Are you ready for this? Mephisto was the opera in Batman Begins that Bruce Wayne's parents attended before they were murdered on Halloween. This was the first of the 3 Dark Knight films, and we covered this, and we compared Bruce Wayne, Batman, to Trump, because this is exactly how his mother was attacked on Halloween. Wow. And there were so many other connections. You'll have to go back to the Dark Knight decodes we did to get the full effect of the crazy connections that we found to all this. Now, let's back up to Interstellar, because we all remember the Interstellar wormhole. Here's an image of it. This is an image from the film Interstellar. They go to a black hole called Gargantua, and it's near Saturn. Well, the original black hole is not near Saturn. They go to another universe through the black hole at Saturn. They find a bigger black hole called Gargantua. Do you think it's an accident that this is Elon Musk's logo for his artificial intelligence called Grok? I don't think that's an accident. He literally took the image of the black hole from the movie Interstellar. And now we have the Trump connection in Murphy. Things are getting interesting, aren't they? Now understand that wormholes, how do I say this? Everything they tell us about space is not real. It's a knockoff version of the truth, right? And I believe what wormholes really are trees. The trees of the garden. And trees, of course, are portals. We've seen this shown throughout film history, depicting trees as portals. They walk into the tree. I can't tell you how many TV series I've decoded where they've shown this. The Upside Down, Stranger Things. We saw it in Yellow Jackets. We saw it in all these different TV shows. Trees are portals, but what they're depicting to you is a knockoff version of the truth. The trees of the garden used to be places you could go that God created, and now we're cut off from that. We're cut off from what you see above. There's no escape from it except through Jesus Christ, and that's in the next life, not this life. So all this money they're spending on NASA and all this, they're trying to get through the tree, but they can't, because God sent 2 angels to block the way. They're swinging their swords, swinging their lightsabers, the northern lights, blocking the way to the other trees of the garden, which are above us. We're down here on earth, stuck in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But no worries, because when Jesus Christ returns, I don't know what's going to happen to the Garden of Eden. I can't imagine it's gone. It's still there. Adam and Eve were just kicked out, right? Does the Bible say that the Garden of Eden was destroyed? No, it doesn't. Adam and Eve were just kicked out. Where were they kicked out to? Where we are now. Now, that's about what I wanted to show you on Trump and this whole 666 meme and how all this fits in together. I mean, it's literally crazy. Let's get into some of these other headlines. And then after that, we're going to go down the ancient handbag matrix rabbit hole, which is just fascinating. And thanks to the subscriber who sent me the information on this. And we'll take a look at that toward the end of the show. Let's get started. Well, I told you this was going to become a thing, that they were going to use the whole illegal immigration aspect and then segue that into U.S. citizens. And this is why they're leaking these stories of U.S. citizens being detained and jailed, wrapped into this illegal immigration manhunt. Now, understand, your first inclination is to say, Casey, we have to do this to root out illegals. Well, that's exactly what they want you to think. They want you to give up some of your rights and freedoms so that we can root out illegals. That's the whole psyop. So don't defend these people when you see a U.S. citizen being profiled as an illegal. Now, this particular U.S. citizen even had real ID, but they wrote it off. They said, oh, that's fake. You're detained. The person was held and then released finally. But can you imagine going through something like this under threat of possibly being shipped off to a prison in El Salvador or a country you don't even know what the country is? Always remember, the freedoms that you don't stand up for today for other groups, those same freedoms will be taken away from you one day. Now, this is some of the same kind of racial profiling that we saw that Black people endured for decades. Except this is racial profiling on steroids. Like, you could literally be shipped out of the country if they don't think that your identification is real, even with a real ID. So what is this about? Arrest now and ask questions later. Let's read some of this. U.S.-born citizen who was wrestled into the dirt. Now imagine if they thought this person had a gun. They would just shoot them. Handcuffed and detained in a vehicle as part of an immigration raid. Had a real ID on him that was dismissed as fake. The man's cousin said Friday. Video of the arrest showed authorities grabbing Leonardo Garcia Venegas. Obviously, this guy was racially profiled. He looked like he didn't belong here, and so they arrested him. And it didn't matter if he was an American citizen. It didn't matter. Remember, your inclination is going to want to be to defend ICE and say, look, this is going to happen sometimes. But that's what they want you to think. You have to draw a line in the sand when it comes to some of this stuff. Otherwise, we're going to lose these very same freedoms one day. They're practicing on the illegals. That's what they're doing. They're practicing the police state on the illegals, and one day that's all going to be rolled out to us. So this guy was on a job site, so they were doing some kind of raid. So this can happen to anybody. You could be an American citizen and you look Hispanic, and ICE comes to your job site because maybe there are some other illegals working there, and you get wrapped up in the fray. Okay. Wow. And nobody will believe you. This is like a nightmare. Imagine you're in this position. Try to set aside whatever nationality you are, and imagine you are in this position and how scared you would be, even if you knew you were an American citizen. With all the stuff going on in the news and what they've been telling us about what's happening to people being shipped off and their mistakes being made, and you could just be kicked out of the country forever, even if you were a citizen. Now, let's get into some of these other stories. RFK Jr. says he needs more time to prove what is causing autism. First, he said he was going to have this done sooner, by September, and now he's thinking into next year. Now, we'll be following this closely because it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with on this without implicating Trump's vaccine endeavors, right? Because, hey, if you're going to look at these, let's look at all of them. Let's look at Trump's too. Let's look at warp speed. Let's look at all of it. But will he do this? I doubt it. But we'll keep an eye on that. Now, what else we have going on? Well, There's been a long-standing theory about jet fuel having very little to do with how jets fly. Some people have done the math and believe that the weight of all that jet fuel, with all the people on the jet, the plane, and the luggage, will be very difficult to get off the ground. Other people believe that the fuel is only used to get the plane off the ground, but then while it's in flight, the plane uses air that's flowing through the engines to maintain its speed. I'm just giving you some of the theories out there, okay? Now, some of you work in the aircraft field, and you believe the math does add up. I don't work in the aircraft field, so I don't know. But there's a reason why CNN is now running a story saying that the future flights will be run on air, literal air-powered jets. Yes, you heard me correctly. Literally the same theories that people had about how jets actually fly. Now, I've seen some strange things in my life when it comes to jets. Okay. Years ago, let me go back into the chat, talk to you guys for a minute. Years and years ago. Gosh, I think I was still living in California. So this must have been like the 2000s. Before, the huge push to social media and people with cameras and posting images and things like that in videos. And I remember driving down the 101 and I literally saw a jet in the sky standing still. Literally looked like it was just hovering. Now, since then, many other people have posted similar videos. They're like, the jet is not moving. And of course, now that artificial intelligence, is afoot and everywhere, people think these images are fake, but they're actually real. And what it is, it's headwinds. And so the jet could be flying at a certain speed that it thinks it's flying at, but because of the headwinds, it's basically just riding a draft, almost like a bird that you see in the sky just sitting still. But that's a little bit weird, isn't it? Like, wouldn't the jet continue to move forward? I mean, if you're not making headway, why be flying, right? So I've seen this stuff. So when you see things that aren't normal, stand your ground because you're probably onto something. And back then, I remember mentioning this to people and they just simply didn't believe me. But now it's widely accepted that this is a phenomenon, that you could literally look up in the sky and see a jet that's getting pretty close to landing, or maybe it just took off, or maybe it's just flying low in the air and it looks like it's standing still in the sky. Now, let's go back to this article. This is crazy. I'm going to read this in high detail. Now, before we get into this, understand that they also just disclosed the Mission Impossible mask technology. And there's a really good video that Call for an Uprising did on one of his backup channels. He covered it. And they literally covered it on the Today Show, I think it was. Look at this. This is insane, you guys. This is literally insane. A CIA division chief literally said that they already have the Mission Impossible mask technology and that they have had this technology since the Bush years. And these were the images they showed on the Today Show. The chief, this is her here. The division chief wore the mask into the White House, and nobody realized it was her. This is her with the mask on, and this is her pulling the mask off, and nobody knew it was her. Again, you want to see the full video of this and the interview they did, the division chief and her talking about it. Call for an Uprising. Somebody call out his backup channel where he played this video. And when you go over there, mention that we sent you, right? Because that helps all of us to reach more people. But here's the crazy thing. They're interviewing her and the panel was just like, or the anchors were just blown away. They couldn't believe it. So they do disclose technology. Now, in the interview, they asked her what the mask was made out of, and she says she could not disclose the material that was used for the mask. And they asked her where the mask is now, and she says, it has turned green. Now, we all know, gosh, one of the very first videos we did, back in 2012, we were talking about UFO technology, what they call UFO technology, and where they got many of the materials that we now use. We did a video talking about DuPont and how they say that some of these materials came from a crashed UFO. Now, of course, that's not really what happened. What really happened is the fallen angels gave the technology to humans. And they named a couple of technologies. They named ceramics from fallen angels, neoprene, spandex, and all these other strange materials. And so you have to ask yourself, where did they get this mask technology? Did they get it from the fallen angels? And let's take it a step further. What's the next logical question that we could ask about these masks and this material they're made out of, and why a fallen angel why a reptilian might have this technology? What's the next logical question? Let's see who gets the answer and see who's thinking the same way I'm thinking. Yes, Velcro was one of them as well. All these materials that we have were basically given to us. Unbelievable. Now, so this is why I don't rule anything out anymore when it comes to these technologies. All they have to do is mask the technology in a lie that nobody can debunk. So maybe the lie is the math in jet fuel. Maybe they tell us there's so many gallons and there really aren't. Maybe there's some huge lie which covers it up. Yes, James got it right. They're already masking themselves with the technology so they can hide amongst us. And so they simply gave it to the CIA. That was exactly what I was thinking. Wow. Now let's read this. Let's go back to the jet fuel article here and read this. Now that we have the context of how they could be hiding technology that no one could ever imagine. Can you imagine, like 10 years ago, someone told you, I just saw someone that was wearing a mask, or Mission Impossible is real? Everybody would have called you crazy, right? So let's read this. It says future flights could be powered by thin air, but there are big hurdles. Now, as I read through this, think about how close this is to the theories that people had already. It says, imagine boarding a flight from Seattle to London, but instead of burning fossil fuel, your plane's engine runs on fuel created quite literally from thin air. Sounds like science fiction, but research labs are already working on making it happen. So far, it's on a very small scale. A new class of sustainable aviation fuel pulls carbon dioxide from the air and turns it into jet fuel. Now, right there on its face, that sounds ridiculous. It's stupid. Like, you can't make jet fuel out of CO2, but this is what they're claiming they can do. The catch, the price tag for these e-fuels is still sky high. Sustainable aviation fuel prices vary depending on how they're made, and none of these other fuels are widely used yet. There are two main types: bio-based SAF, made from organic materials, cooking oil, and ESAF, made with renewable hydrogen and CO2 captured from the air. E-fuels are the most expensive option, largely due to the high cost of carbon capture and electrolysis. So is this a bait and switch? I don't know. You'll have to be the judge of that. Now, the people that believe that jets run on just air, it's a little bit different the way they think about it. They believe that it's about aerodynamics in how the wing is formed and how the wing is pushes the air through the engine, and it creates some kind of what do they call that? Motion machine, where it can just continue on, perpetual motion. And once it gets going, and it just doesn't stop. This is the theory that some people have about how this works. Again, I don't claim to know. I'm not in the aircraft industry. Some of you are and could debunk or support that. But that's what's going on, you guys. Now, let's get into a slightly different topic today. Well, before we do, you guys want to laugh? A little comic relief here. Ivanka Trump. Look at this. With her jiu-jitsu instructor. Does this ring a bell? Let's read the headline here. Ivanka posts pics of herself grappling with Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach. Better watch out. Tom Brady had to learn the hard way, didn't he? Wow. So this looks like the same exact picture. Just take Gisele Bundchen and her jiu-jitsu instructor riding bikes together. Oh, that is her. Wow. So this is her. And so what is the purpose of this? This is insane, right? This is crazy. So now these rich and powerful women are going down to Brazil and hanging out with jiu-jitsu instructors. My goodness. Okay. Let me get your reaction, then we'll go into the final part of today's show, which is about a place called La Venta, an ancient site in Mesoamerica dating back before the time of Christ. And at this site sits the oldest known image of the crowned serpent, Quetzalcoatl. Let's get into this, you guys. Oh, wait, let me read your jokes first about Ivanka Trump and his UFC. Oh, she's just so normal. That's just like us. Okay. Women can battle like a man, no man needed. Yeah, I can't see what could possibly go wrong there, says Cannons. Wow. Fight, says Ike. Yeah, like what's the psyop behind that? Rich and powerful women cheating on their husbands with jiu-jitsu instructors. Like, what is that about? That's just weird. Now, what's crazy? Ooh, you know what's crazy is that Jared Kushner kind of looks like Tom Brady a little bit, doesn't he? Wonder if there's something to that aspect of all this. Whoa, but he's a much more effeminate looking Tom Brady. Wow. There's something going on with this jiu-jitsu thing and the Brazilian instructors, isn't there? All right, let's move on from that. I don't like to speculate too much, but there is a strong resemblance between Tom Brady and Jared Kushner. Ivanka could do what they dress. Okay, now let's get into this here. Okay, this is La Venta, and it's in Mesoamerica, and there are some very old images of the oldest known image of the crowned serpent. It's at site 19, they call it. Let's scroll down here so we could find it. Look how creepy this is. Look at this image here. Whoa. Now, this isn't it, but they worshipped this snake. And here you can see the fangs of the snake with the letter X above the head of this priest carved out. And in this recessed, what almost appears to be some kind of portal or something. And he's holding like this rope down here. Whoa, sitting. That almost looks like blood or something dripping off of there. So this is some kind of altar at the site. But let's look at the oldest known image of Quetzalcoatl. Here it is here. The crowned serpent, the oldest known image. Now, again, one of you sent this to me, so I decided to dig into this rabbit hole. It's literally a man sitting inside of a serpent, and he's holding this strange bag in his right hand. And you could see him crouched inside the serpent that is crowned Quetzalcoatl. And the snake's tail almost looks like a rattler tail or something, like a rattlesnake. And this man has this weird device in front of him. And to me, this looks like a television screen, like he's looking into it. And he has a snake head or like a helmet on. And above this square screen are two more X's. Now, these X's were common in ancient Mesoamerica. They're on a lot of stuff. But this bag is what has me intrigued. Because I'd seen it before, and others had too. It actually appears throughout the ancient world. Here's another image of this screen-like thing here. And the rattle tail and this bag he's wearing. Now, usually when they have this bag, when they show this bag in the ancient world, it's usually in proximity to something with feathers. Let me show you some of these images from around the world. Now, some of you have already been through this rabbit hole. But here's the same bag, except this is Assyrian. The same bag. And in this case, feathers, like wings. Now, I don't see any serpents in this image, but there are feathers. And we know that Quetzalcoatl is a feathered serpent. So we have this bizarre chimerism. Here are some more images of this bag that they're carrying. Remember, these are completely different parts of the world, thousands of years apart in history, we're told, thousands of miles apart, and yet the same artifacts show up. In this case, a bird's head with feathers carrying like a pine cone or possibly an egg, with this weird medallion wristwatch almost looking thing here. So I'm trying to get you to see these patterns, right? Look at some more of these images. Someone on Reddit put together all of these ancient images. Again, ancient Assyrians, the Anunnaki, all carrying this bag. The bag even shows up here. This almost looks Indian, doesn't it? Look at this image here. That looks like it's from India. And there you go again. There's the bag. Are there any feathers in here? I don't see any in this particular image. But even at Göbekli Tepe, the same bag. And again, associated with birds and feathers. Now, some of these birds almost look like the birds we saw on Easter Island, the Moai statues, right? This is Göbekli Tepe. This is supposed to be one of the oldest ancient sites in the world. So, what is up with this bag, this weird bag? Well, let's go back to some of these images here. I don't have too many answers for you guys on this. I tried to look in the Bible to see if there was any references in the Bible to a strange bag. Now, the official story that they tell us is that this was full of spices and magic dust and all kinds of other stuff. But this makes me wonder, and this is the only input I really have on this. If this man is looking into what appears to be a screen of some kind, then what does that tell us? Well, the root word ophis, ophis, O-P-H-I-S, means serpent, but it also means the opening of the eyes or wisdom, which to me almost sounds like remote viewing, gazing, observing, Serpent's smart vision gives a whole new meaning to this image, doesn't it? It gives a whole new meaning to this image. The serpent wrapped around this man as he's viewing something. Ophis. Now, the serpent root word, ophis, also shows up in all kinds of other modern words, like opine, which means to like basically talk about something, or opiate. And of course, Ophiuchus, which is the serpent constellation, and all kinds of other words connected to vision, like optical. And of course, the Orphic egg, which is a snake wrapped around an egg. Interestingly, Ophir is actually the place where Solomon's gold was stored. Ophir. And other words like opinion and optional. Crazy, right? So that was about all I had. I really wanted to try to decode that image of the oldest known image of Quetzalcoatl. And that's about all I came up with on that. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this as well. Good morning, everybody. Yes, ophthalmology. It's all about vision, gazing. See, they know something. Optimus Prime. Yes, Celia. All right. Open. Yes, Stillwater. Like opening a portal. Apophis. Oh, wow. The plot thickens. Has oaf in it as well. Good one. The black dragon. Apophis. The pineal gland could be the pine cone. Yes, I agree. The bag contains the DNA, says Peridome. Options. Yes, Terry. Good ones, you guys. Now, I don't know anything for sure. We're all trying to figure this out together, aren't we? That's why we investigate these things. The gold comes from the giant stone trees and not the giant stone bodies, says T-Money. Optical illusion. Ophelia. Order of Q. Yeah, I think we covered that a while back. Do not open the chakras. Yes, correct. They're trying to poison the pineal. Ophiuchus is the 13th constellation. Opticon. Oh, Ralph says a pineal gland statue outside. That's interesting. I used to live in Santa Barbara. Thanks, Celia, for that. Bag was filled with agricultural knowledge, I think, says David. Office asteroid. Pope carries a bag when he's buried. You know, it almost reminded me of the apron that the Freemasons carry. Almost looks like that a little bit. Which looks like an envelope, which is like the Gmail logo, isn't it? So, I don't know. Antichrist will be an AI robot with a mask on that is supernatural with weapons. Could be. All right, you guys. Well, tomorrow I'm going to show you everything I have on Baron Trump. Going back probably 5 years, I think is the first decode we did on him. We actually did a side-by-side with the image from Baron's Marvelous Underground Journey. And literally the drawing that they did in that book from the 1800s, we did a side-by-side with Baron Trump, and it looks like the same boy. So I think I'm going to be able to present that to you guys tomorrow. But that will be tomorrow's show. We're going to go straight through it. It should take about an hour, hour and a half. And I will show you guys that. I love each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day. Much love. Thanks for showing up, everybody.